Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of ONIT Interviews. Today, we're talking to Cory Hollingsworth once again, which must mean one thing. We've got a new release coming. Cory, good to see you, man. Excited to talk some new ONIT releases with you.
Thanks so much. I'm super excited to chat. It's a really exciting time here.
Yeah, it is. Spring sports in full swing, of course. We just finished off an awesome March Madness, and now transitioning into baseball season. We've got the brand new 2026 On It Baseball set releasing on Friday, April 24th. Um, what's new, I guess? What should people know right off the top?
I mean, let me tell you, there's so much going on. This is the first time for On It Baseball that we've had a lot of new inserts and new chases that are going to be introduced. We already have the things that people have come to know and love about On It Baseball. Obviously, our on card autographs from top teams and throughout the country. But let me tell you, we also have a lot of focus this year on draft eligible prospects and top players who are going to be making a lot of headlines over the next few months, whether that's the World Series or the draft. We have a loaded checklist across the board.
Yeah, tons of great prospects in this year's sets, and we'll get into that in a minute. But maybe for people who are stopping in here and never heard about On It, never seen, anything that we do, what differentiates On It baseball releases compared to your other baseball releases that you might see maybe from other card manufacturers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, on it, everything that we do obviously is officially licensed trading cards with colleges and universities. So, everything that you're going to see from on it is done in coordination with players, with universities and governing bodies. Everything that we do, we support athletes. We have industry leading NIL payments, right? So, every single person that you see has been compensated for their part of our program. And, in comparison to, the other parts of the industry that you might see, everything we do is collegiate and it's all single property for now. So, you might see a box of UCLA baseball or TCU baseball on the shelf. So when you purchase that, you know that every card in there is going to be of players from that school. And that's obviously, really our way of supporting the schools and universities that we work with and really hearkening to those fans who, if they're all about the Horned Frogs, if they're all about the Bruins, they want those players. And, you'll see a lot of that. You'll see most of our platinum boxes, our value boxes, which are making their debut in baseball. And you'll see that when you see it on the shelves.
Yeah, it's a really awesome way for collectors to get their team set stuff. And if you are a fan of TCU or UCLA or any of the schools that we do, of course, it's the opportunity to only get cards at that school, which is very different than other ways other people do it. And that leads me right into my next question, which is it can be very difficult when you're talking about all these baseball schools, all these teams out there across the country, all these amazing players. You look at every year, there's a list of 100 top prospects. So how do you shrink it down from all of Division One baseball to these are the 23 teams and some of the names that we settled on?
It's a lot. It takes a lot to determine, okay, is this a school that we, already work with? Is this a school that we want to pursue? Do we think that they're going to, have a good season? Do we think that they are, we have the support locally with our reps there to make sure that this is going to be a success? But then even then, we start talking with our partners. We work a lot with group licensing partners as well as universities themselves, and we make sure that, hey, we have the support to be able to make sure that this can be executed. And we take a look and we see, hey, there are a lot of top prospects with this school or that school, and maybe we haven't published a product there in a couple of years, but we think it might be worth it. So it took a lot. I mean, I think that I started working on our baseball plans last, I want to say September or October, starting to really ideate and think about, okay, who's relevant, who should we focus on? Are there players who we need to already have conversations about early? And so it took a lot of time, a lot of analysis. And, you mentioned, top 100 lists. And I was certainly looking at that. I was looking at top incoming freshmen and top sophomores coming in and really diving into who is going to be making headlines this spring. And that's a lot of what went into this. And, you know, we already have a great structure here at ONIT where, you know, our team set products, I think, really do hearken to those passionate fans of a certain school. And a lot of what we've done here is taken that and taken it to the next level to also say, hey, if you're chasing these top prospects, take a look at our product and look at what we've got in here.
You might find a lot of these top prospects, you know, before they hit Bowman. I mean, when you look at some of the teams we work with, I've brought this up a couple of times, but like Jack Caglione at Florida, you know, before he was in Bowman. Nick Kurtz was at Wake Forest before he was in Bowman with Oakland. So there's definitely going to be those young freshman, sophomore guys who blossom and develop into that type of MLB talent that you might find their first ever card, you know, here in an ONIT set, which I think is pretty cool. And that also sets up the next question, which is baseball is so unique compared to basketball, compared to football. You get drafted right out of high school. You have JUCO college transfers that make huge impacts every year, whether they do 1 year in JUCO or do 2 years and then transfer in. So how does that make designing the baseball set different than how you have to go about football and basketball and then really the rest of the sports that we do here at ONIT?
You know, it's a great question because you already have such a great system in amateur baseball, right? You know, a lot of the players who we worked with, some of them have never signed trading cards before. Some of them have had small deals. They might have signed stickers for, you know, perfect game sets or, you know, for USA Baseball and other licenses. But some of them have never signed a physical card. And some of them have never signed anything, period, which is really exciting. And so when it comes to that, to, you know, taking a look at these lists, taking a look at who performed well, you know, you take a look at certain things that have been indicators of, you know, fan passion or collectability in the past. You take a look at, you know, top arms, you take a look at producers when it comes to, you know, RBIs and home runs and who can get on base. And you do take a look at the transfer window too. Obviously last year there were a decent amount of moves where, you know, some coaches went, changed programs and brought some of that talent there. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And, you know, even taking a look at who has been, again, who's already, like, because draft coverage pretty much will start after the draft, right? You know, you have the draft in July, and then by August, you've already got certain people already saying, hey, who's going to be important next year? And we were taking a look at that and, you know, taking some of that, not just taking a look at who is already going to be who's already going to be relevant, but who else on these powerhouse schools are also going to be impacted by that. Take a look at a program like Georgia Tech, where you know, everybody was already talking about Drew, and you know, thankfully we've been able to work with Drew, which has been fantastic. But then taking a look at someone like Jaron Advenchula or Vaughn Lackey and saying, hey, this team is going to be really good. Let's see if we can make sure to secure relationships with them. And taking a look at that and seeing how does our product help to tell the story of 2026 college baseball. That's kind of where I took a look and said, we need to target these players, get more players than we normally did. And that's something that's a big change from anyone who's seen ONIT in the past versus this year. You know, in the past, there might have been only 2 or 3 signature athletes in a set, depending on a lot of different factors. Some schools this year, we've got 5, 6, 7 players who are signing for us, which is really exciting because it adds a lot of variety to chase. And we also have a lot of short print inserts, including autograph inserts that are making their debut that I think is going to add a lot of value, not just to fans of this team, but to the baseball hobby in general.
You hit the nail on the head perfectly there, because that's exactly where I was going. We talked about kind of how we put the product together, but you know, what is going to be the thing that entices people? Because in the hobby today, you do definitely have multiple different types of folks. You have your collectors who just want to get their players, their cards, their team, and kind of sit on it. You have the people who are looking to flip right away. And then you also have the people, which a baseball set is great for, the prospectors, the guys looking for the long-term play and holding cards for a long time. So, you know, what's kind of the enticing factor that this ONIT baseball set has that's really going to appeal to that wide variety of collectors we see out there in 2026?
Yeah, you know, we've already built a good foundation with our team set products, right? So everybody, if you've ever collected ONIT, if you've ever seen an ONIT card, we have, great looking base sets and some nice inserts. The blackout cards are great. This year in football, we debuted Silhouette and Vestige, which had some really great chase. And then of course, our City Limits cards. But this year in winter, we actually debuted a few different inserts that we had never done before. We had Hype, and we had another card that was more focused for basketball. But this year, we're also debuting a new insert called Diamond Cut, which looks really, really good. Each of those have parallels that people can chase that are more short print. But one that I really want to focus on here is General Admission. So General Admission is a set that we came up with, and we decided to add an autograph version of it. And almost every athlete that we've seen sign these cards and worked with them has just said, this is one of the coolest cards. I've seen so many players taking pictures of these cards, and they're numbered, I want to say, almost all across the board to 10, or at least 10 or less. These are very rare on-card autographs that people are going to be able to pull, that I think are going to command a lot of value. And even again, every ONIT card is signed by either an ONIT rep or a university rep who we work with directly. Everything is on card. There are no stickers in our product. And, we've been able to, again, sign a huge amount of players who are already being projected as first round, second round draft picks, including, people who are going to be in the top 10, which is really exciting. And, this is a really talented class, and I'm really proud to say that we are going to be featuring a lot of players who are going to be making headlines in June and July.
Yeah, even just in this first wave of releases that's coming on the 24th, I mean, we have Rock Kolowski auto, Sawyer Stronsider has cards in there. Both of those guys are projected to be, I mean, Rock is the #1 overall prospect on pretty much everybody's board. Sawyer's inside the top 10 for a lot of people. So there's a lot of names to be excited about. We touched on the autograph portion of it. What are some of the short prints, or maybe, the brand new insert? You touched on the Diamond Cut. What should people be looking for when they open up their boxes to say, wow, that's a really big hit?
Yeah, you'll see whenever you open up an ONIT pack, you'll see some different elements. You'll see standard paper cards for your base set. You'll see some parallels, and you'll see some foil designs too. You can definitely see when a substrate shift happens, and you can take a look, see the foil numbering, see what is different about the cards. But yeah, I mean, there are some really, really rare cards that are going to be pulled, and you'll definitely see, when that General Admission card hits, or you'll see, a film signature card on a different substrate. There's a lot going on, a lot of things to chase. Our City Limit cards are always really well sought after, but really the General Admission ones are taking the next step, I think, right now. You'll see when you're opening up these cards, you'll find short print inserts, you'll find regular common inserts, and a lot of, again, numbered parallels. And there's exclusives in each SKU, which is really, really great. So, I think for the first time this year, we included in your platinum boxes, that's the only place to find base set platinum, which are numbered to 49. In the value boxes, that's the only place where you can find base set orange. That's a new parallel that we've introduced this year. And then even in single packs, when you see our blackout cards, the team color variant is only available in single packs. So there's a reason to collect each SKU and find different things that are in each pack at different price points. And something, I think you were sharing a little bit earlier, ONIT is a very affordable product. We have price points that appeal to every collector from every price point. And, to be able to find officially licensed on-card autograph cards, hits, and parallels like that for the prices that we have, it's pretty rare in the hobby, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish with this line of baseball.
Certainly, and we'd love to see, anybody who pulls some of these amazing cards, these low-numbered autos, General Admissions, City Limits, any of it. We'd love to see it. So you can submit it to onitathlete.com/highlights. I'll put the link in the description for everybody. Appreciate Cory taking his time out. Hope you guys are looking forward to the baseball release. And Cory, we can't thank you enough. April 24th, can't get here soon enough.
Absolutely. I'm ready.